Hi, I'm Christopher Cunningham, head writer.
And I'm Connor Roda, head animator, and we are co-founders of Studio Djembe.
So far, our focus has been concept development, using the skills that we've learnt on our journey so far. But recently, we've been wanting to bring in our love of content creation and use our platform to highlight the world of South African animation for other newcomers to the industry.
In this video, we want to talk about the big networking event that is Fame Week Africa. And we wanted to make the most of it by attending panels, pitches, interviewing industry professionals, and networking with contacts who can help us develop and grow as a studio.
But what is Fame Week? Fame Week Africa is the go-to event for African creatives, providing them with a platform to bring their ingrained talent, their stories, and their culture to the forefront. Fame Week brings events focusing on the major creative economies, film, television, animation, as well as music and entertainment technology. Pitch highlights.
Last year, when we pitched our show, there were some amazing projects, and this year there were even more fantastic entries, some of them by friends that we'd been following for a while.
The Amazing Nero had a full 3 minutes of fully animated film to show, and it honestly blew me away. An incredible concept showing a post-apocalyptic Cape Town overrun with killer robots, forcing people to live underground. As a huge sci-fi geek, this ticked all the right boxes, and I really hope it does well.
For me, it was a project about African nursery rhymes available online and set out to bring them to light in the form of animation for children. Bringing children closer to their heritage, a heritage that's running the risk of getting lost in time, is a very admirable goal, and I fully support more projects that not only want to tell stories, but preserve pieces of culture and history.
I think what's great about seeing these projects is their desire to not only tell stories, but also tell our stories, African stories, that represent us. A huge goal of our show Roho, and these other shows that we're seeing, is making the watcher feel represented and included, which isn't always the case with Western animation. It's why we're seeing shows like Mama K and Kazazi Moto getting made, because not only do local audiences want to see themselves represented, but global audiences also want to see something different.
Another big takeaway was the art, and there are some fantastic artists who not only put so much effort and attention to detail, but also help bring these projects to life using these visuals. And even before the animation has even been done, we can see how these characters look and feel. Plus, we get to see stunning visuals of these worlds that those characters inhabit.
Panels.
Attending panels was a lot of fun and super informative. We got to hear from the amazing Ed Ball about his work on Roger Rabbit, and Nate Stanton, who shared his experience working on giant Pixar films like Toy Story and Finding Nemo.
I attended a panel called Empowering African Writers Towards Fair Compensation and Recognition. This was about the development of the Writers Guild of South Africa, and how even though it's based in America, the strikes to help improve the work conditions of writers have had an effect on South African writers too. As someone who is developing their skills as a writer, it was great to get insights on the future of the industry and be aware of resources offered for local writers like the Episodic Lab offered by the Realness Institute.
It was also important to attend panels on what the industry is looking for in terms of animation, and while studios are looking for animated projects, they are often unaware of the time and requirements a successful project can take to make. We hope to get our projects out there and get people to invest, but it's become clear that a lot more work needs to be done independently before that can be the case. And we'll talk about how we plan to do that in another video.
Stands and displays.
There was, of course, lots to see. Different companies and networks had set up stands for meetings, and apart from making tea, this was a great space to meet people from these places who could give you insight on the goings-on or what the network was really pushing for. And spoiler alert, it was an animation, as we found out several times.
A favorite stand for me was probably the Tadum Lounge by Netflix. We had most of our meetings there, and it was set up really nicely with lots of screens showcasing South African produced content. Not gonna lie, I'm also a sucker for promotional items, so that was a selling point at anybody's stand. A lot of the stands were promoting their new streaming services. ETV was showing EVOD and DSTV had Showmax, but again, the projects they were looking for didn't really align with what we were pitching. 5. Meetings.
Part of networking was, of course, arranging meetings. Our first meeting was ETV, and they told us that they were looking for shows that were relatable for the average audience, live action and grounded in realism. We have a live action concept that we pitched, but unfortunately, they said it wasn't what the target demographic expects. If you have a live action series that has a local setting and is a very practical project, then ETV might be worth looking into.
As we weren't always sure who would be beneficial to meet in the industry, we also took the opportunity to meet in a professional capacity with friends and colleagues to discuss what their journeys had been like and how their own projects were progressing. A big part of events like this is not always reaching out to new people, but also being able to touch base and establish connections with those you have already met. Often they're in the same boat, or a couple of steps ahead or behind, and finding out what they're doing might just make you think differently about what you do next.
Exactly, even just telling our peers what our next move was and getting instant feedback was incredibly helpful. Also, people in the animation industry are generally very supportive, and even if it's just listening and giving feedback on your pitch, it all really helps. It's also useful to be aware of their project too, because hey, next thing you know, they could be putting together a team of writers or animators, and you're the first person that they ask to join.
The benefits. So what are the benefits of an event like Theme Week? Well, like we've said, networking is important, not just gaining new contacts, but touching base with old ones. Just being seen at events like this and talking to people can be so valuable. You never know who you'll meet or who's listening to you pitching your idea.
Getting your idea out there is also incredibly important. Even if you aren't on stage, pitch, because at the end of the day, getting your project made is the goal. That being said, attending pitches is just as important. Seeing what's out there and what others are making is a crucial reference for your own projects.
Bringing so many people from the animation industry together is also an amazing idea. Putting people just starting in the same room as these animation celebs can be so inspiring, and so is seeing local talent getting recognized and working on projects like Kazazimoto and Star Wars Visions with Disney. Africa is being recognized and is becoming one of the hubs of animation talent.
I think we can take away that the context and experiences that we've gained from this and events like this are hugely beneficial to us as Studio Djembe is just getting started. When we have the foundation to start creating our projects, we won't be short of storyboarders, writers, animators, artists, and anyone else we need, and that's because of how strong the community South African animators have with each other.
Conclusion.
That's been our Fame Week Africa 2023 experience. We attended not sure what to expect and came out of it focused and determined to do more with our project. Even if no one was there necessarily interested or able to help us develop our project, people were willing to make suggestions as to what our plan of action should be.
Honestly, the best piece of advice just came from a casual conversation, where someone suggested we take a similar route to projects like Lackadaisy and Hell of a Boss, projects which have built an audience and independently produced their own shows on YouTube, or cases like Be and Puppycat or Don't Hug Me I'm Scared that grew huge followings online and were noticed and picked up by networks, who could see that the audience was already there for these shows. Thanks for watching. Please let us know your thoughts, and if there's anything else you'd like to know about Fame Week, ask it down in the comments. We have some fantastic interviews coming up, so you don't want to miss them. Hit subscribe, ring the notification bell, and we'll see you next time.